Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from neurotrauma clinical spaces, medical practice gaslighting, and post-operative cognitive manipulation, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of supernatural justice deployment, weaponized digital dating app trap loops, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered collection of raw deceased spirit and living target assets running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, paranoia-slicked parameters of a scorched high-density ethereal plane and modern digital hunting ground layout, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of a devastating, ghostly tracking and warning extraction matrix with FOR ANDREA, the exceptional, pulse-pounding contemporary thriller and comprehensive spectral retribution compendium engineered by the absolute undisputed global sovereign of breathtaking domestic secrets, razor-sharp narrative traps, and high-velocity structural friction, Noelle West Ihli. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroad where an endangered trio of murdered female spirit assets running an unyielding truth extraction loop, a calculating manipulative shadow network of a charming tech-savvy serial predator, and an absolute defense against an encroaching digital app hunting containment zone collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn creative journeys where endangered, hyper-observant ethereal protagonists must navigate an absolute maze of rigged character perspectives, corrupt dating profile history logs, and a deadly ring of active personal deadline frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised spectral ecosystem where an analytical mind uses deep psychological profiling, calculated tech device manipulation boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, weaponizing highly advanced societal charm and dating app mechanics, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, meticulously paced spectral gaslighting incubator, tracking a seemingly devoted dating app predator who deploys advanced digital manipulation and clandestine victim dossiers to systematically forge a seemingly innocent facade before crossing a terminal exposure milestone, diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Ihli completely dominates the high-precision, unreliable narrative jeopardy meets suffocating narrative erasure puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating blank-page paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genrevarks like Alice Sebold, Gillian Flynn, Lucy Foley, and B.A. Paris, while treating realistic baseline terminology logistics, complex dark possessive loyalty arcs, and protective high-density isolation extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse creative asset, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of a total loss of physical safety networks, absolute structural liquidation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within a cutthroat online dating social matrix. Behind our protagonist James's and our fellow victims Brescia and Megan's rigorous daily footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden structural vulnerabilities, deeply buried survival instincts, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Their collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following an abrupt plot outline deviation sequence, discovering they are dead and stuck in a spectral limbo after being targeted by the same man. Their entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from a network of internal distraction forces, parsing complex behavioral shifts in their daily paranormal interaction loops, and shielding a vulnerable living next target personal sovereignty node from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite predator offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches their active scanning perimeter. While sorting through a series of routine digital profiles, our primary assets register a total security breach when their killer's psychological onboarding sequence initializes an irregular descent into active new victim acquisition logs, systematically tracking hidden midnight residential movements, forbidden dating application coordinates, and unvetted digital identity associations, forcing them into a proximity tracking matrix with an oncoming narrative resolution. Behind the online matchmaking world's pristine, smooth aesthetic facade and elite behavioral mapping style lies an intricate matrix of severe ideological warfare and a cold calculation-heavy target containment blueprint.
As the hostile adversarial investigation phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a ticking OCK timeline, the unauthorized discovery of missing historical truth templates, hidden intimate motivations, and altered typographic tracking templates reveals that their entire leisure sanctuary was an explicitly engineered trap. The standard boundaries of routine online courtesy and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active invisible war behind closed suburban doors, where a highly manipulative psychological gaslighting matrix launches aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream and execute their complete systemic erasure. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their social and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the large family living spaces, dark residential corridors, and private fortified bedrooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Their protective, hyper-vigilant heroines are forced to deploy their massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve their focus before their adversary's relentless, calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes their boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, shifting dynamically through precise execution guidelines from initial spectral confusion to final structural manuscript release loops, determined to deploy deep sensory manipulation loops, continuous psychological gaslighting via digital distraction maneuvers, and persistent dominance to shatter their defense, only to realize their hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight archival excavation of personal legal journals, every silent choice to stand off against an electronic apex predator behind standard structural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at their reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as Noelle West Ihli reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial week 1 ambush or managing an invasive digital disclosure. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and absolute structural supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their building creative survival alliance. A brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes midstream point-of-view shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated obsession has tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient protagonist must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a high-velocity spectral psychological, digital dating captivity noir, serial predator mystery, and high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one unreliable narrative lie triggers a fatal deadline showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Ihli writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate fallout, and the distinct, subtle scent of electrical smartphone charges, digital screens, alpine frost, cold leather, smartphone glare, cold sweat, dark adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary instructional marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and digital underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total hard-earned advancement to their horizon. Ask for Andrea is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.